this meeting to order. Invocation, please. Dan?
Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen. Prayer of St. Francis of Assisi.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
They didn't give us enough. Drunk for a steak? We're doing close. I couldn't even turn. No, it's not time to get over the crack. I'd like approval of the minutes for our work session of April 17th and our regular council meeting of April 24th. Do I hear a motion?
I make the motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
The adoption of the agenda for the day. I have a motion to adopt.
Yeah, we got a new one though. The last one.
Mr. Mayor, didn't you call me and say we're gonna add
That'll be coming up.
to? Oh, that,
Well, you have to add it to the agenda.
yeah, well, that-
Oh, that was fine, okay. That's fine, yeah,
right,
okay.
that's-
He had something on one minute ago.
Somebody move,
I move, we do.
I'll second.
All in favor? Mayor's remarks. This is our last meeting in this room. Starting next month, we'll be in the main part of the church. So, and we have a few things going through, a few problems with equipment that we're going to be bringing up. And I want to welcome you all to this meeting. Thank you. Council remarks. I'll start with you, Chair.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for getting out this beautiful day, or going to be a beautiful day, I hope anyway, to see us. So thank you for being here.
Neil?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here, and I'm not so sure, I'm just gonna have little snippets of the sun the rest of this week, but I looked at the weather again this morning, I couldn't believe we're gonna have another full week of rain every day and into the following week. But that's the way it goes. We won't melt, and thank you for being here.
And we leave the ace at the end, Paul.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming. Appreciate you being here.
That's all I like, short and sweet. Okay, city's managers report.
Just wanted to report on the Wildfire Community Preparedness Day. That was May 5th. We had a good participation in that. We collected over 4 dump truck loads of bagged leaves that the community gathered and got away from their homes. We will be closed Monday in observance of Memorial Day, so garbage pickup will be on Tuesday. And let's see, any other highlights here? I've sent out my report if anybody has questions. We're still, right now we're at a stall on our right-of-way trimming. Our bucket truck is down and permanently down. So we're gonna have to take up talking about a bucket truck at a future meeting, but, right now, we're kind of at a standstill on what we can't reach from the back of the truck maybe, but, we were working on the tree trimming trying to, but now we're kind of in mowing season, but mowing has also become a problem with our mower, so we have that on the, agenda to add, which is not on the agenda, Mr. Mayor, so we're gonna have to add that to the agenda if the council sees fit.
All right. Where's the chief? There he is. On your radar sign.
The DOT came up last week and met with us, and they checked out our roadway. The road that we have approved for radar usage, as you all know, is the mountain road. That's the biggest problem we have. The problem we have is there's no signs. When you leave Dillard, that's the last official speed limit sign down the mountain. Speed limit, from what everyone refers to as Dead Man's Curve right in there, goes to 25 all the way to City Hall. There's no sign. The yellow signs are reminder signs. You can't enforce traffic on them. So they're going to be installing proper speed limit signs. Also in the area that's not in our city, the Dead Man's Curve area, they're going to be putting up some LED lights in that curve like you've seen in other places. And there may be lights going up right there in that curve at the overlook. They're doing a survey to see if that warrants it right there as well. And they're going to be redoing our signs. Also over on Ball Mountain Road, they're going to have to get with Raven County because there's no Georgia state line sign there. It's just a City of Sky Valley sign. So they're going to try to get us a official state sign there as well. So they came up last week. That's on their to-do list, and they said they'll be getting on that as quick as they can get a crew free and get them up there. No, because I told them, I said, look, we're in a pickle because we can't do a lot. We can't enforce a lot. I mean, we can get people for improper lane change, failure to maintain lane, too fast for conditions, things like that. But we can't enforce the straight up speed there because it's not properly marked. And they know that, and that's, most of the complaints we get are right there. And we're sitting there at Winding Ridge. You put the radar in the car and sit there. You can clock people at 50, 60 miles an hour. That's a 25 zone. And that's considered a super speeder at that point. So you're looking at $1,500 tickets. But, you know, you can't do anything with it because it's not properly marked by the state. We've even had a couple troopers come up here because they even get a lot of phone calls because we don't do our job by enforcing it. But they're like, hey, where's your signs? We don't have any. So they're going to get on that, and they're going to get that fixed for us as soon as possible. So hopefully that will help. And we've also got the radar sign that we bought. Some of you may be aware of that. They're going to install the pole for us to go ahead and install that. They have to come up and do that and approve it. But once again, they can't do that without a sign. So they have to get the signs up before we can put ours up. So we're working together with that. Hopefully that'll be a little sign.
Appreciate it, Mark. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
On the pavilion, the concrete pad, the city is going to take care of that. We are going to put out what are we going to call that?
The electrical,
A help sign, a help survey for them to give us some money.
a fundraiser,
Okay.
a help survey.
A help fundraiser.
It does.
It's going to be sent to everybody. And that we've got, we've sent out quotes and stuff on the electrical part and waiting to get that back. So, and we've already got our picnic tables as soon as we get our concrete pad. We've already have our charcoal grills to be fastened in there. So they're going to be the same charcoal grills as Timeshare has in front of their units. It's gonna be two of them.
Well, on that note, Mr. Mayor, you asked that all of us kick in $100 and there's mine for the picnic tables.
Oh, that's not a bribe?
No, we're on camera, so not a bribe.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
may I ask, since we have technically two pavilions, I'm sure you're talking about the larger, I don't know what we call the low one over by the pickleball courts, but just for clarification.
We're talking about the one that the city owns, which is over by the post office.
Okay, thank you.
And pickle.
May I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you did I understand you're collecting money for some purpose?
For the cost to have it wired up and
Okay.
the cement cost and so
Because I
forth.
wanted to sponsor a table, but they were gone before I got to that point.
We'll
That's what
still
I was
wait.
just
But
getting.
I'll contribute. I mean, I will. I wanted to do that. I feel the way Chip does. I'm gonna do that anyway.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
And Slosh, that's in negotiation. In the 2018 audit is for the June workshop. We're still working on that one. Surplus property. We have several items that we have, we'd like to get rid of that are surplus. And I think we need a vote on that to approve, to,
We didn't get to it on our last workshop agenda, so it'll be on this next one to make sure we identify the right pieces that we want to surplus.
okay.
But we'll have that at the next meeting.
Hotel motel tax. What do you got to say on that? Nothing.
We talked about it at the last work session. We didn't exactly identify which direction we want to go with it, so I don't know if,
No,
You have, yeah,
I was asked to look into it a little bit further,
okay.
and I was asked to look and see if there's any sorts of other entities besides a downtown development authority that state law authorizes for cities to create. And I couldn't really find anything other than a downtown development authority that would be appropriate for what you asked me to look for. I mean, you have like industrial building authorities and things like that, but I don't think that's exactly what you're looking for. You're not looking for factories and things like that, more so commercial establishments, is that right?
correct.
So that would be more of a downtown development authority, which has all the pluses and minuses that we discussed at the work session.
One of the pluses and minuses we were talking about, a big one is the because had a lot of people mention being concerned that this is all would be done, they're into the taxpayer dollars and so forth. And with a development authority, development authorities receive grants from local governments, state governments, federal governments, et cetera. So we have to, but we can't receive these grants as a city, we have to receive these grants as a building authority. So what I had asked Doug to look into was, because a lot of people said, well, they wanted to go a different route than the downtown building authority, because they wanted more control in it. One of the concerns was, though, if we develop a building authority that doesn't receive grants, it then it gets into your pockets. So, that's not what you want, that's not what, I think any of us want to do. So, anyway, that's where we were discussing. So, Doug, in 2012, they were proposing a building authority. That authority does not meet, we're afraid, the ability to get the grants and so forth that.
Not for the type of entity or commercial establishments that you're wanting.
Okay, so we wouldn't have the ability to get the grants, or we wouldn't have the ability to do revenue bonds, both of which would alleviate any taxpayers from any financial actual expense.
Well, the Downtown Development Authority would allow you to bring in grants, and it would allow you to issue bonds if that entity was deemed creditworthy by.
Right, I'm
Thanks.
sorry, that was my point, yeah.
Yeah.
That type of authority will, what you're saying, what I meant was the authority that was previously proposed would not.
It doesn't seem to fit what you're wanting. It would be more of a large scale industry and factories and stuff, which I don't think that's what's being proposed.
No.
So, yeah, it'd be more of a downtown development authority that you'd want to establish.
All right. Well, do you have anything, any drafts of anything for us to look at on that, or is that something we need to, we already have it, I understand, it's just a matter of activating it.
Yeah, I can, I don't have it, but on the work session, I can send you stuff I've done for previous cities, and y'all can fill in the blanks for Sky Valley. It's pretty easy to establish. You would just have an ordinance where you would enact the Downtown Development Authority. I think it's 7 members that you gotta appoint, 1 member being from the council, others from members in the community, and then they're set up at that point. But I would counsel y'all that it's a separate entity at that point. They will hold their own meetings, and there'll be open meetings as well, so I mean, they're governed by the Open Records and Open Meetings Act. But they can make decisions that perhaps conflict with the city council and mayor want. That is a possibility. Typically, that does not happen, especially in small towns. The DDA usually follows what the council wants to do and works kind of hand in hand with the council, but by law, they're not required to. So that's just something to keep in mind.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
What is the purpose of this?
This is to help with Sky Valley with its comprehensive land plan and to help move things forward, such as building a little downtown district, say here. Possibly bring in hotels, possibly bring in some elderly health care, independent living, homes and operations. So that's what this is for.
Then if you would issue bonds, then that puts the city in debt.
No, it does not. That's just what I was
Who
just
puts-
explaining a minute ago. The city was not, a development authority cannot by law bind a city to debt.
Right. As I was saying, the Downtown Development Authority is its own separate entity. It is created by the city of Sky Valley, but it would be its own separate entity.
So they incur the debt?
They would, the thing is, I don't know if that DDA would have the revenue stream to whereas they
I don't
could
think
issue
so.
bonds or get a loan.
No.
That would be the difficulty, is whether they could actually get funds. But
Okay,
it could
you've
be,
answered my question.
yeah, so.
Thank
You would have to talk to some bankers about that. I can't tell you whether they could get funding or not.
Well, you've answered my question, thank you.
We will expect to have detailed documentation for discussion at the next work session. Is that-
What I propose I'll do is I'll just get together the paperwork that would allow y'all to create this entity, and then kind of the steps on what you need to do. And, but y'all need, the members have to be, one comes from the council and the rest come from members of the community. I don't know how you want to set that up, whether you want to interview people or whatever, but we can talk about that.
Okay.
For the workshop, I think we need for the public edification, the things they can do and the things they can't do specified.
And the statute is very, very clear about the things that the
We're gonna have
DDA
a
can
copy
do.
of the statute.
I'll print you out, yeah.
I don't want.
I have a question. You're getting plans to make this authority by its name. Where are your long-range plans for what this authority is to be focused on? For instance, you talk about senior health care. I believe you have to have a certificate of need. I believe you have to go through government regulations to create that entity. It's like a hospital. There are many hoops you have to jump through: transportation, medical care, etc. Commercial, you're talking about a small downtown. I think you need to look to see if there's anything more than a 7-Eleven that will come in here. And I know they've talked about barbershops and so on. My question is, because we've gone through this before down by the covered bridge, where is your long-range planning so that when this entity is created, you can say this is the direction we're looking at?
Well, for myself, it's just
No,
letting,
for the city, where is your,
for me, for the city, I can only speak for myself, but speaking for myself for the city is to basically let people know that Sky Valley is open for business. We need to bring people in here, developers in here. It's not, we don't want the authority to do the jobs we just.
developers?
Why?
What?
Why?
What?
Why?
Why?
Why are you proposing? Yeah, that's my question is I really, my personal opinion, I don't know how Barbara feels, I think you probably need to do some kind of contact or survey with the residents, because I don't think we're all on the same page as far as how we understand Sky Valley. And I think you're going to find that you're going to get a lot of reaction when you start talking about commercial ventures. I know your intentions are very sincere and very good, but then you're talking about, my question would be, what kind of obligations as far as support would be required of the city? And what kind of financial, you can't build anything here unless you have waste disposal. And that puts a big question in a lot of people's mind that I've heard from about what would be the financial requirements from the city. And the city really doesn't operate with a lot of excess money. And we're talking about needing these mechanical things, which I believe we need. I just think, I guess my suggestion is we need to proceed with a lot of caution, or you're probably going to evoke a lot of reaction.
Well, I think we're kind of getting the cart here, as the public goes, the public's getting the cart a little bit before the horse. The first thing, I totally agree, the public needs to be spoken to, they need to be interviewed, we need to survey the public. However, we spoke about this when the Georgia Regional Commission spoke here last week, and said they will help us develop, number one, a feasibility study, which determines, is anything even feasible? In other words, what is feasible here? Okay, so we have to start with that. Number two, the second thing is we can't just sit here and say, okay, like I said, talking about possibly putting a little downtown area right here. Well, your picture in your mind is one thing, hers is another, his is another, and until we put together some illustrations to show kind of what the idea is as worked out with the region, then we have something to ask you about.
Chip, we don't own the land. You're talking about bringing in commercial to sell Harrison Mills land.
Okay.
Whoa, where are you gonna put commercial on city property? It doesn't exist.
You don't put, I know of no commercial entity that operates on,
Well, what I'm
Government
saying
land.
is you're talking about developing a downtown.
no, I'm talking about us making it feasible for somebody else to develop it. Sky Valley as a city, in other words, a city has to have a plan.
And you're talking about bringing in a developer to develop this. And I would say, again, like the park, like anything else, I would like to see long range, dotting the Ts, crossing the
There you
Is, so you don't get into an agreement that can turn around and be difficult.
With you 110% on that.
Yeah,
And
that's
our
where
hope.
I'm coming
That's what
from.
we spoke about last week, and that's why he was here, to help everybody understand that this is not an impact. You know, it seems like a lot of rumors seem to be going around because we got hit with sewer last week. A lot of people talking, oh, we don't want to do it. We're not going to pay for sewer. Not. We've gotten a sewer feasibility study, so we have that done. We know what the cost is. Now, how that fits into any long-range plans and where the funding comes from, we haven't even discussed that. But it's certainly not been discussed that you guys are paying for it, because there's, when you'll put this thing out for a feasibility study for sewer, you know, I'm not sure that everybody understood that the individual residences were not going to benefit from that sewer.
That's
We all
right.
knew
You know,
that.
I never heard that
We all-
once, and being a council member last year, it was all about, hey, you know, hey, yes, we're gonna bring sewer in, and I saw a lot of excited faces in the audience, but they didn't understand that it's not for them. Now, doesn't mean that in the future, say if sewer is needed in a particular street, and those, we did this I grew up in Newton County, and, when, let's see, it was early 90s, and they finally ran water down the main road that comes to our subdivision. Now the county came in and says, okay, would you guys like to be on city water? And they said, for $2,000 a lot, we'll run water down your street. Well, we all paid the $2,000 and got city water. So something like that could be done with sewer. You're not restricted by saying, no, you absolutely can't have it, but there'd have to be a means of, say, funding it like that. Does that make sense?
Mayor Earl, we went down earlier last year, talked to Mr. Merrill, and we talked to him about development.
All right.
And he, at that time, said that if he liked what we were talking about, and that's all it was talking about, we wasn't committing anything. He says, if you bring somebody in, he says, I will sell them the land for it.
Sure.
All right, so, yes, but I mean, sure, we're doing the work, but, the main thing is, for anything that we try to do here, it's not to put a burden on the citizens, it's to get something in here that we can get some taxes out to take the burden off. Because where does our money come to run the city?
Taxes.
We take taxes, our water, our sewer. So I mean, there's our income, our major income. So if we can get a large hotel,
Or a
maybe
small
it would
hotel.
work, or for a convention center, or home health, to come in and look. The thing is to get them to come in and look at what we have. That's the thing, you know, we know what we have here, and we know what we would like to have here. We wouldn't want industry in here with smoke and all this and that, which, but a home health care place, that would be good. And that's what we think anyway. And so, but then it's a tax base, and that's bringing in revenue. So that's all, that's what we're looking for. We're not trying to commit to anything. So with the study that they were going to help us with, that's where we are at.
You gotta start somewhere,
Paul?
feasibility.
Another thing that'll clarify the direction we're going, if you look at the land use plan that was developed under the previous administration, I think was it 2014, Linda? All the things that we're talking about, you know, assisted living, you know, kind of a continuum care retirement community situation, possibly a hotel, all that's on that 2014 land use plan. We're just kind of trying to follow that plan. It appears setting up a DDA at this point will, you know, assist us in doing that. So if you hadn't read the 2014 plan, that'll kind of bring you up to speed as where we're trying to go, and that's the land use plan. And then in 2019, I think it's due to be redone.
Have you ever talked to the Pruitt Company, which is the biggest supplier of home health care and assisted living, and it's a Georgia company based out of Tacoma?
I've never talked to them personally.
Well, guys might want to.
But like I say, there's a
We
lot of
would.
pieces,
But
it's like
we
a
need to-
jigsaw puzzle, and you gotta start
Yeah.
with one or two.
I'm just putting that
That land
plus
use
in.
plan.
They're experts.
So
City hadn't even zoned that.
yeah, the piece is there, we're trying, we have to develop a comprehensive plan, which wasn't carried to fruition from 2014 here, 4 years, okay? We stepped in, we've got a plan that was built in 2014, it's not complete yet, should have been complete, 70%, 75% by now, it's not. So we're stepping in, trying to play a little bit of catch-up, so before we talk to Pruitt, we want to have a comprehensive plan to show him that right next to your assisted living building, we're not going to allow A, B, C, you know,
Okay.
to secure his, you know, investment in the
And that's
piece of
something I'd
property.
like to say to Barbara, and that's what Paul's talking about is exactly what you asked about with dotting i's and crossing t's. Right now, there's zoning out here right now that allows Merrill to do quite a few things. So, you know, as we hear people talk to us, say, hey, well, we're not real sure we want you to do this, that, and the other, we cannot do anything. But I guarantee you can end up with something you certainly do not want in Sky Valley if we sit here and don't do anything.
Okay.
And I don't think Miss Merrill, from talking to him, he has no intentions of, doing anything to hurt Sky Valley or sell to the wrong person. But however, do understand, and I want all the taxpayers to know, he's in the real estate business. He owns almost 600 acres up here. It's already been zoned. This is commercial. You're sitting on commercial property right now. He can sell to anybody he wants to, and whatever fits within that commercial zoning, you have no say-so, and neither do we. So, so I would ask the taxpayers to say, hey, is our current situation worse, or is your council taking a proactive role
I'm glad you said that, because
to
that
help us,
clarifies.
in other words, to let us design what we want Sky Valley to look like in the future. And that's where we want to go with, but we don't have the details to give you without the feasibility study.
And the land plan.
And, well, the land plan is there, as Paul brought up, but it's very broad stroke.
It's work.
So we don't want mobile home parks in here,
We
So,
already dealt with that.
Motor coach.
yeah, well, that's not a big deal. We got a nice one at the end, but go ahead.
A quick comment. First of all, I respect the board and all of what you're trying to do. Is this not the cart before the horse? The big issue on the table, we've got to get the sewers, and we still don't have a date as to when the sewer issue between the county and the city of Clayton are going to get that resolved. And that also brings in the grant issue for the housing authority. That doesn't seem to happen. But a more important question, when you went down to see Mr. Merrill, did you ask him why isn't he developing Sky Valley? I mean, why do we have to?
It's not a market.
I mean, if there's no market for Merrill, who's gonna come in and, I know the economy's improving and we're real estate agents, people that own homes for rental property. Yeah, they have a vested interest in trying to promote Sky Valley. And of course, we don't, the tax income is very, very important. So I can relate to everything you're saying, but, and as you, Councilman Howard said, there are so many moving parts to this, but we've got to do them, put them in order and do them prioritize. And I think the workshops are great, but I'm concerned about, I feel like we're all over the place here. I just don't see an organized.
We're not. I think the public is, but we're not.
Public is.
Subject to your
that's-
sewer
yeah.
point, and that seems to be the feeling of a lot of people is, we want sewer in here first and we want it in here now. Well, guess what? Why would we do that until we have a feasibility study to even know if the sewer needs to come here? In other words, if there's nothing that that Sky Valley, let's just say nothing fits in the feasibility study. We're not good for a little town, we're not good for a hotel, we're not good for anything. We don't need the sewer. And I've been preaching for a year and a half now that, being in my business, I know good and well that if we had an opportunity to put, say, like a little town center right here, all right, if we have that plan in place and it turns out it's feasible, it's doable, we can possibly attract a developer to come in here and put this little town in here, buy the property and build it. Well, then when we go down and meet with the county, the state, whatever cities, entities we need to provide the sewer to us, don't you think they're gonna take us a lot more serious with a plan in hand? You know, if I was on the sewer authority of, say, Rayburn County, and, you know, you came to me and said, well, shit, you know, we want a sewer in Sky Valley, well, good, what's your plan? Well, we don't really have a plan, we just want sewer in here, so if and when. Well, I'm sorry, but my answer to you is call me when you got a plan. That makes sense?
Yes, but I think I think the first thing that you need to do is put on a ballot for the whole city with, you know, word it out. This is what we have considered in our feasibility study. Would you approve, or do you agree to implementing a senior living?
We'll probably do something
We
like
can't
that.
do that until it's done.
Excuse me, Neil. We might do that, but we'll do it after we get this study. After we get this all on a item 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. Once we get the whole plan in, then we'll go out to the public. Then we'll show them what we have here. Then we're in for corrections from the people. They don't like this, they don't like that. This is good, this isn't. All right. And to get back to one point you made, what happened to Merrill? Merrill was going to build a little shopping center down here, but the bottom fell out.
Right. Really?
And then, so that was it. So, no, that ended Merrill's party in here. And now he's got his,
He's got lots
he
of
has this place, and it doesn't cost him anything other than taxes, all right? Someday, somebody's gonna come in here and buy the whole thing off, bam. But he has other developments all over the country, and that's where he's putting all his money, and that's where he's looking at. So,
Exactly. It's not because-
but really, until we can have the time to finish what we're trying to do with the feasibility study, with everything like that, bear with us, please, and then we'll bring it out to you. We will not do anything without you, the citizens of Sky Valley, knowing what we're doing.
Exactly, yeah.
With the approval of the
Mr.
citizens
Mayor?
of Sky Valley. Right?
It's going to be approved. All right, Neil?
Just to say it another way, to emphasize what the mayor said, Chip said, you don't really do one thing and then another little thing and then another little thing. You've got to have several of these things in operation, thinking about and studying and putting before our citizens at these workshops. That's one reason I was so happy that we are having workshops again, as we incrementally go along, and we don't totally know probably which one will kind of lead the others, but we have to get into a feasibility study. We ask, and we had a representation here last at our, was it the workshop? Yeah, the workshop, that said, yeah, we'd be happy to help you with, let's get, and that I think is kind of the first start, but we need to be thinking beyond that, like the downtown authority and all these other things, and not just, well, let's wait till that comes in, and then we'll take the next one. Well, in 2040, we still won't be anywhere with the city. You have to do multiple things, just like a corporation when I was with. They had me working on 6 different things this week and 25 the next, to move our programs and projects and negotiations and contacts and all that forward. And I kind of see it that way. So we'll be bringing things in the workshops, not to scare you, but to let you know we're thinking and we're moving in the direction of moving Little Sky Valley, not to become a big city area, but become a little more of a destination
That's
and
it.
have commercial in here that's the kind of commercial that'll then maybe benefit us all, that'll help us with a tax base and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that sums it up for it, but that's my feeling, and I think that's the feeling of your council. So.
May I just say one thing? I'm sorry, Neil, I didn't mean to.
That's all right, I'm through.
I happen to know about healthcare, and an assisted living facility is a for-profit situation.
Mhm.
If, I think you're going to find that the general attitude here is, if it's a commercial venture, no matter what it is, then they assume the financial obligation for their waste management.
Absolutely.
And that is probably where most of the emotionality over this exists. Because as soon as I've sat through 3 other meetings about sewers. The one thing I've seen in the paper, the financials on that don't even come close to the numbers that have been discussed 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I think that's where some of the reactivity is operating, that the taxpayers in some way would be put in an obligation and not have the benefit of the facility. I think that's where you're getting the reaction. I mean, you mention the word sewers and you can just see people's emotional reaction go right up through and that's what it's all about. But whatever facility is developed, I think it needs to be clear that they assume the financial obligation, particularly for waste management. I'm done.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's move on to the next item, which is the ratification of the quitclaim deed. Due to the fact that we do not have the sufficient council here to vote on this, because Chip is going to excuse himself.
Yeah.
He can't vote on it. That only leaves 2 to do the voting.
Can you can still vote.
I can, but
Right.
I've already stated publicly that I would not vote on items, only on a tie, based on what I
This is kind of similar to.
We can postpone this until next week, or next month, I mean.
Tell us what to do, Mr. Attorney, or Linda.
I mean, they have a quorum of 4. Currently, our quorum is 4. If Chip is unable to vote, does that, he's still here, but does that change your quorum?
Well, you've got a 2-0 vote. You follow me with the quorum, does that work?
Supposed to be 4.
Yeah. Well, you're still part of the legislative
Yeah.
body, but
Yeah. And we haven't changed anything.
does it, if we push this to next month, is it any big deal on that?
I don't think so.
We've
And you
already,
mentioned having a special meeting anyway, so we could do it.
Yeah, just put it on the agenda.
It just seems like we should have it done.
Okay, let's do that.
Yeah,
We'll
cool.
postpone this.
Is this holding up a sale?
no, we've already.
It's already been
We just
done.
gotta ratify it.
I'll make a motion that we table item number 15 until the next June regular meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The charter amendment, first reading. You have something you want to say?
It's been posted at City Hall, I imagine. You don't have to,
It has been.
it has been, okay.
Yeah.
So, let's just go ahead and read it or read the preamble and vote on it. Typically, on very long ordinances and things like that, you don't have to read the word for word, everything on there. Read the preamble or the first few sentences. if it's already been posted.
That's the notice.
I think that's this one.
Yeah.
No, that's the one that ran in the paper.
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah.
If it's not.
All right, this is an ordinance to amend the charter of the city of Sky Valley, amending section 2.10, city council composition number, elections, section 2.21, quorum voting, and section 3.01, election powers and duties of the mayor. Whereas the charter of the city of Sky Valley provides that city council members vote to enact ordinances, resolutions, and motions. Whereas the city council has decided to amend the charter of the city of Sky Valley to change the description of the mayor as being a part of the legislative body and to change the authorization that allowed the mayor to vote. Whereas the city council also has decided to change the number of members present to constitute a quorum for the conducting of meetings and other business of the city. Whereas Article 9, Section 2, Paragraph 2 of the Constitution of the State of Georgia, titled Home Rule for Municipalities, allows the General Assembly of the State of Georgia to provide by law for the self-government of municipalities, which the General Assembly has done with the Municipal Home Rule Act of 1965, OCGA 3635-1. And whereas OCGA 3635-3 allows municipal charters to be amended by ordinances duly adopted at 2 regular consecutive meetings of the municipal governing authority, not less than 7 or more than 60 days apart. And whereas the resolution was approved and adopted last month by the city council while in regular session to amend the charter by ordinance as set forth above and pursuant to OCGA 3635-3, the required notice has been published in the Clayton Tribune for 3 weeks prior to its final adoption, and a copy of the proposed amendment has been on file in the office of the clerk of the city of Sky Valley and the office of the clerk of the Superior Court of Reagan County, Georgia, all as required by law. And whereas the notice will have been published within the statutory period of 60 days immediately preceding the final adoption of this ordinance amending the charter. And whereas the title of this ordinance has been read, an ordinance duly adopted at 2 consecutive city council meetings, not less than 7 or more than 60 days apart, as required by Georgia law. Now therefore, in accordance with OCGA 3635-3, the mayor and city council of the city of Sky Valley, Georgia, pursuant to their authority, do hereby adopt this ordinance so that the charter of the city of Sky Valley is hereby amended by adding section C4 to the already existing section 3.11, election powers of mayor and duties of the mayor as follows. Section 3.11, election duties of mayors. Duties of the mayor, vote only in the event of a tie vote of the council. And by striking section 2.10, city council composition, number, election, and section 2.21, quorum voting, and replacing those sections as follows. City council composition, number, election, the legislative authority of the government of the city of Sky Valley, except as otherwise specifically provided in the charter, shall be vested in a city council to be composed of 5 council members. The city council established in this charter shall in all respects be a successor to and continuation of the city governing authority under prior law. The council members shall be elected in the manner provided by the charter. And then voting, any 3 members of the city council that constitute a quorum and shall be authorized to transact business of the city council. Voting on the adoption of ordinances shall be by voice vote, and the vote shall be recorded in the journal, but any member of the city council shall have the right to request a roll call vote, and such vote shall be recorded in the journal. Except as otherwise provided in this charter, the affirmative vote of the majority of the quorum shall be required for the adoption of any ordinance, resolution, or motion. In the event any council member leaves the meeting after the motion is made, but before the motion is decided, he or she shall be deemed absent for quorum purposes. I read the whole thing, sorry.
All right, so that counts as the first reading. We'll have it on the agenda for next time, and y'all can vote yes or no.
Do they vote on the first reading?
Yeah, I guess,
Yeah, they do first and second,
Yeah.
yes.
Mr. Mayor, one question, please, sir. As I understood that, if this was already in effect, these 3 gentlemen constitute a quorum and a majority vote would be sufficient. So one excused himself, if the other 2 voted for it, it would then pass under the new as proposed. Is that correct, Mr. Attorney?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, that's what I heard. Okay.
Well, I'm still not sure if he removed it, if he couldn't vote, what that does to the quorum. That's what I'm not sure. If-
I think he's
If he
abstaining.
abstains,
But that doesn't take away from the quorum, though, does it?
No, it doesn't take away from the quorum.
Right.
Under this, it only takes two people to vote. If every, like he said, the three of us sitting here, I recuse myself because
It
I
is
was part of
iffy
that
enough that I don't
particular
want them to go
deal.
ahead and vote on
Yeah.
it.
You've got
Yeah,
I would think so too.
two
Still, we're
votes.
here for the quorum.
yeah.
Right,
Right.
There's no harm in waiting.
yeah,
No, just to be sure.
but you're right.
We do need a motion on the 16th.
Okay, go ahead and,
First reading.
yeah, have a motion for the first reading.
Have a
So moved.
second.
I'll say, what is the
I didn't hear
motion?
what the
Motion is for first reading.
Adoption
Accept the
of,
Adoption of the first reading of the ordinance.
Okay.
Okay, I think she did a good job.
I'll second.
She'll probably get to do it again.
Memorize it.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, now what do we got here? 17, Rules of Procedure Amendment. That's you?
Yeah, this was the rules of procedure ordinance that y'all had passed several years ago, and we changed pretty much very similar to what the charter change is. We just changed the ordinance for the rules of procedure. Is that in the packet as well? Now, this is just an ordinance amendment. This would be the first reading of it. I imagine it has been posted as well. Okay. You could just read the very top. You don't have to read it all.
it's the same thing. We're changing, the quorum will become 3. The quorum must be presented for all council. Quorum is any 3 members of the city council. And then for the mayor of the city council as presiding officer is responsible for the orderly conduct of the meeting. In order to fulfill this duty, the mayor shall enforce the rules of procedure that are adopted. The mayor shall be impartial and conduct the meetings in a fair manner. That doesn't say he can do the topic.
That was not in that ordinance to do. That was only a charter. So it's still,
Does it matter?
no, I mean, he has that authority under the charter. And it wouldn't hurt to have it in the ordinance, but it's not required.
That's the short version. Do you want this all?
No.
Is that good?
That's good enough for me. It just proceduralizes what the charter amendment is.
Right, it's just to match the charter.
Puts it in there.
I'll make the motion that we approve the first reading of the rules of procedure.
Second.
Second. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
So done. All right. Now, service delivery strategy mediation.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes?
may I ask if everybody could speak up a little better? We don't have, all the voice goes out that way. It's hard to hear among the council what's being said, except for Linda. Comes right after.
And another big one.
Everyone, let's try to speak up.
Next week, or next month, you'll have a microphone and
That may help, but it may not.
but we'll try to speak louder for you.
Thank you.
This, item 18, Linda. I don't see that.
I guess that's yours,
You may take that, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Yeah. That,
Oh.
Oh.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve to enter into mediation with Rankin County regarding the service delivery strategy.
I second it.
Been moved to second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? fire department lease, Paul.
I have the revised, this is two originals here, if you want to pass that. And the change was made in paragraph 8, subsection C, to read, it did read, lessor also agrees to remove snow and ice from the apron between the building and the street expeditiously to enable lessees trucks to safely exit and enter the building. And that was changed to, and the street as expeditiously as possible. And I'm recusing myself in this vote, so do we need to take
I
a
move that
voting on it?
we agree to lease with the guys out there.
We don't have the same issue here.
But
Yeah.
We've got to, if Bob is going to vote on it, then you're only going to have 2 votes.
that's right.
Unless I can abstain to be counted as a yes anyway.
I don't know why you.
All right.
Stay.
We had this lease brought up, and we had a correction, in the lease, and this, any of you at the council, other
Yeah,
than,
I don't know why you have to repeat
anybody
It's
have
not-
any
it. It's not a
comments on
correction,
that?
it's just an amplification.
All right.
He's on the board of the fire
All right.
department, does he need to recuse himself?
I would.
I'd like to have a motion then to accept this lease from the city, to the city from the Sky Valley Saddle. Yeah,
I'll make a motion.
yeah,
Yeah.
We accept the lease from the,
Scott.
with the Scaly Mountain Volunteer Fire.
Mayor, if I may interrupt just
Yes.
briefly. I think we may run into the same problem as with the real estate deed. We may not have a quorum to do that because I think Paul may need to recuse himself, but you are on the board.
That's correct.
And so he would probably need to recuse.
that's,
And so if we could
we could.
put that on the next agenda and we get a quorum and we'll vote on it.
Yeah,
Yep, I agree.
I think we all know we got a lease, just a matter of
Yeah.
hashing it stone.
All right, I'd like to have a motion to add an item, which is on the sale or of, not a sale, but on a purchase of a mower for the, that we had a good mower and it's bit the dust. We've had it for how many years now?
11.
11. And so.
It's been a good one.
It is a little beyond, and to replace that one is from the Macon Rental Company at the cost of $11,849 with taxes, $12,648.80. This is the one exactly like what we've had for 11 years. And we also have one from Reeves Hardware that Chip knows a lot about because he's had them. And so if you'd like to speak on Chip.
Well, I guess what we've got to see before us is replacing the exact same mower with the exact same mower is $11,849. In my farming ventures and golf ventures and development, we've used Exmark laser Z0 turn mowers. And actually that bid is $9,400, so they're very tough mowers. So I just recommended that to kind of help us save a little money and get the same job done.
But I understood in a conversation with our mayor that won't get the same job. And so
Okay,
I'd like to hear more about that.
all right, me too.
The only thing that, talking to Jerry, he has used these type of mower. And with the existing one that we have, when they're mowing on the side of the road and you've got a high curb, down there, that the blade doesn't come out clear to the end, so they're not hitting the curbing of the street. But this one, the blades are out further, and when they're going on a side angle, they're gonna be hitting on some of these streets, they're gonna be hitting the curbing. So, and basically, even though the cost is a little more, with the replacement to what we've had for 11 years, I think is a good recommendation to have another one of the same, from the same make. And I would recommend that we go with the one from Macon, which is for
Has the warranty been
12,000.
studied and all that between the two?
Well, the only studies we can do is just take a look at the mowers themselves and their specs. I think that if, where we've had one for 11 years before it finally gave out, is a good recommendation. And we have a lot of different types of ground rather than straight on a golf course or a farm, which is flat. We have, so, and the workers, they use it, that's what they recommend, that they would like to have a replacement exactly the same.
Here, look at the two, look, actually, it tells you exactly. the
Are you
size.
getting this out of state?
No, we got one, well, yes, we are, for
Okay,
up in Macon.
Okay, do you have to pay the sales tax if it's out of state?
Sometimes we can get them to knock it off, sometimes we have to ask for reimbursement.
I bought a
if we do.
dishwasher when I was remodeling my kitchen, and I did not pay, I bought it up at Bacon Appliance, and I didn't pay the sales tax.
I know there's
Now-
some things we buy up,
I don't,
we've had bought things,
We
so
might
we
be
didn't
able
have
to-
to pay the
yeah.
sales tax, so.
if it's out of state, can we save some money?
But they listed with the sales tax, so, I don't know,
I didn't pay sales tax.
yeah, maybe it's just certain things they don't.
Well, in Georgia, we definitely are not gonna pay any sales tax. In North Carolina, or out of state, it gets a little more complicated, but usually if they think they're gonna lose the sale over us going to a Georgia dealer, then we can usually work it out.
Yeah, that's, well, if they have no facilities over here in Georgia, and that's.
There's
how-
other dealers, I mean.
Oh, but, okay, that's how I say
A
it.
difference
I don't care, it's up to
between
you.
two looking at
You
a
know what you're doing.
photograph.
I don't.
It looks the
The only thing
same.
I don't know is
There are
I
others.
live on
Is this on the agenda yet? or-
Well, yeah,
Yeah, you still haven't voted to add it to the agenda.
That's what I was wondering.
I don't know. I'd like to have a motion to accept the purchase of a mower, but not until we have a discussion on it for a replacement.
You gotta add it to the agenda
And we
first.
have to add it, that's right. I'd like to have a motion to add this item 20 to the agenda.
If we add the, how do we do that without, I mean, without putting a maximum, a dollar figure on or something? In other words, we need the mower.
Yes, we do.
I mean, studying the two side by side and so forth, other than the color in these photographs, I don't see $2,500 or more difference in the two units. So my question,
Let's get it on the agenda first, and then we
Okay.
can discuss it.
all right, I'll make a motion, we add the mower replacement to the agenda.
Have a second?
I'll say.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well,
It's a necessity, Paul, whether we, either we.
Let me ask you a question, then. Why did I
Either we
just
get a
find out
mower,
about it last
or we're
night?
gonna be doing it all by hand for the rest of the summer. So,
He didn't hear
if
you.
you wanna,
Already voted,
No, Mr.
vote's
Mayor.
over. Didn't pass.
okay,
well,
we've added,
we've got,
What do you mean? it
all in
passed?
favor to add this, say aye.
aye.
Motion. All opposed?
Nay.
No.
Pass. All right, now, you want to discuss this, the difference of the two mowers.
Don't you have to have three to pass,
He voted
No.
nay.
attorney?
The quorum is 4 currently, still.
So it's a tie, so the
Three
mayor.
votes.
No, it's not a tie, it's 2-1.
It's off the agenda.
Can I vote on this?
It's not breaking the
You
tie.
have the right to vote.
Well, that's not in place yet. I mean, currently it's still 4 quorum, and the mayor has the right to
Well, then
vote
we
if
can
he
go,
so
we
chooses.
can go vote on these other items we put off till the next meeting, then if Boston's gonna decide to vote this meeting. It's fine with me, whatever way you wanna do it. I just need to know the rules I'm playing by.
Well,
So you want to do that?
We're talking about our community folks. Weeds, 2 feet high. I'm sorry. At the visitor center, everywhere.
Our
I
mower
agree
is
with you.
down right now.
I agree with you. I found out last night at 6:30 about a $12,000 purchase that the city wants to make. Now, I'm all for giving me 2 or 3 days, let me do my research, we'll hold a meeting on Friday and vote on it. Y'all wanna do that? I'll make a motion that we hold a meeting Friday and vote on the purchase of a mower.
Well,
I want more than 24 hours to make a $12,000 decision, that's all.
but you could agree to purchase a mower and then investigate the cost.
No,
So,
That was my concern when we talked about that. I'm all for purchasing, but I'm not with an unlimited, without a known figure.
Why don't we just get together Friday and vote on it then? I'm not trying to keep a mower away, but there's some just, you know, there's a $3,000 difference between two mowers we're looking at. I hadn't looked into either one or had time to discuss it, so.
and I think you should discuss your mason with the maintenance people, they're running it. And if they feel very strong,
Right. So in my opinion, this should have been on the work session last Tuesday. We could have had the maintenance guys here and they could have told us all about it and we could discuss it at the work session. That didn't happen. So,
no, it didn't
It was on
happen
the
because
work
it didn't break down.
We just didn't finish our agenda.
it wasn't discussed in the work session is my point.
But it was on the agenda. I just want to make that.
Okay.
what, I couldn't understand.
It was on the work session agenda, we just didn't
We
finish
didn't
the
get down
agenda.
to it.
That is true. But we didn't have any of this
Well, and our mower just broke down. I mean, we were already putting it on the agenda as something to talk about, but then our mower broke
That's
down.
what I was trying to get at. Has anybody made a study of these two mowers in comparison, really more than the color or the picture?
I have, and I spent a lot of time on it last night, and it's varied opinion. There's no clear answer either way. There's some people that love the X marks, and there's some people that love the Hustler, and there's some people that love Skag. I mean, there's different machines, and there's not a clear,
The
you
only,
know,
The only-
Jerry, our maintenance crew, he likes the Hustler, that's what he's used to using here. He, you know, is comfortable in how it sits and, you know, how, when he's doing the ditches and that kind of thing, he can maneuver it, so that's what he's used to, so that's his preference.
Well,
That's not saying that the X-Mark's not a good machine, I'm sure it is.
That's something to consider. And also to consider that we've had that particular make and model, I guess, for 11 years. Although the last couple of years, I think we've had troubles with the maintenance one. But I do think that we should possibly have opportunities to study it more. Or have someone meet with us in a little emergency meeting that we can ask questions to that is familiar with these mowers or the maintenance of these mowers or whoever we need. So, anyway, we're not, I'd like, that's what I'm noticing, that you're all are interjecting before we have an opportunity to discuss. And I love that you're interested and want to participate, and we're not trying to squash that in any way. Just keep mindful to give us an opportunity to argue if we're going to, or discuss among ourselves. Thank you. So,
It won't be among ourselves, we've got to call a meeting, a public meeting.
I'm talking about now among ourselves. Was what I was referring to.
Well, we've also got,
But
we
anyway,
can't discuss it, we haven't accepted to add this to it.
I think there's a motion currently on the floor from Paul to table this until a meeting on Friday, I believe.
Correct.
are we going to have another counselor back by that time?
No,
We will not be back.
I don't,
Next week.
he won't be back until the end of the week.
Are you up
And neither will he.
Are you up to town?
No,
Was there a second on the table? On the motion?
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you're,
Um,
for the next, until we get this thing settled, please do not call the city and say the grass is high around your streets. We'll get to them by hand as soon as we can.
Well, where do we stand?
Until we get this thing
Do we
settled.
need a second or something?
We have the John Deere mower, Bob. We're not completely without.
There's a motion to table till Friday.
Has it been seconded?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll second.
And that motion is, Neil?
It was moved by Paul to have a meeting on Friday to allow for further study and comparison.
Are we going to have everybody here?
That's great, can you be there, Chuck?
I think
Can you
if
be
you're going to
there
have
Friday?
it,
Yeah, I was just looking to
if
say,
you're going to have it, Paul, I'd
9 a.m.?
suggest that you hit it for next week. Then we know that Al will be back and Connie will be back.
Okay.
Next,
can, before you vote on that, can I say
Yeah,
something?
been on the motion.
Paula, your concern is not about buying the mower, you just want, concerned about buying which one.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so in other words, Bob, I don't think we need a fourth person, it's gonna pass, we just, Paul wants some more time to, and Neil to review the 2 units. Or a third or fourth possibility, because there's several people that make these. So in the essence of getting it done quickly, we can meet Friday morning.
It says also in our financial policy that purchases between more than 5,000 and less than 25,000 are generally bid through an informal bid process. And it seems like the city's presenting us with one bid.
That's,
Now, we got, one would Yeah, for each one.
Should have brought in another one today, but I mean, that's, you
Yeah,
know, an hour and 15 minutes ago.
yeah.
I found
All
some
it
out
is,
here
right,
that
it
are
is
65
part of
or
the,
what
it
we
is a
said.
problem on the purchasing policy.
Uh,
It is a problem on the purchasing policy.
Well, they
Well, it's an
quoted 3
informal-
machines, plus we got another one today. So you've got a quote for 4 machines right now. We can go and get more quotes, I'll get as many as you want.
You have a quote for, okay. I guess we need to,
This one's from Reeves on the one I had recommended, and I guess these
Okay.
two.
Well, that, if you look at the first sheet, there's 3
Oh, I
machines
see,
that they
oh,
quoted.
and then there's those 3, so that's what, 2 different companies.
You have that right there in front of you, Paul.
yeah, well, here again, I appreciate it, but I'm not gonna, digest this and make a decision on it during this meeting right now.
So
I'm not sure why we didn't have this last week at the work session.
I didn't know it was gonna be that urgent of a situation that we do it, so it was just a
Yeah.
discussion last week, now it became a priority. So,
That's a,
And what's our policy saying? We need to stick, we wanna make sure we're within the purchasing policy.
Need to have multiple bids.
Okay,
well, it can,
well.
For the same item.
Until Reeves quoted, we didn't have multiple vendors. You know, we just now got multiple vendors. Okay.
I read we have to have multiple quotes for the same piece of equipment.
right.
well, if we wanna identify which piece of equipment to get the multiple bids on, I can do that.
Let's get multiple bids on.
I think this whole discussion's out of order, it wasn't on the agenda, and we need to wrap it up and get it done here.
Yeah, I think once the vote failed to amend the agenda, I think,
We shouldn't have been discussing any further.
yeah, I think adjournment is probably the next thing.
We could be discussing what we can do or should do.
Can we not vote to meet Friday night?
It's not a purchase.
Well,
I think we need at least do that.
you don't know that it's gonna be back.
We don't need
If it's
that.
gonna be unanimous, then
Yeah,
this
that's,
is all you need.
I know.
But you don't know it's gonna be unanimous when you take your vote.
That's good.
Next Tuesday, you got 2 more people.
That's good.
And they may want to investigate.
I think we ought to go ahead and get it done on Friday, but if y'all want to push it off to next week, it's fine with me. I'll amend the motion if you want me to, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I think since we have this, that Al will be back next week, this weekend, and Connie will be back, so if we're gonna have this big a discussion over it, then let's have it with everybody here. So let's just make a motion for next Tuesday.
Sure, I'll make the motion that we table the purchase of the mower till, I don't know how to make a motion to table, so it's not on the agenda, but.
Yeah.
No, Ray said, I got a whole new motion. Strike everything I've said so far with it, Sally.
That'd be easy to do.
Of course, this isn't on the agenda either. How about this? I don't think we need a motion. I think we just need Bob to call for a special meeting on Tuesday, the 29th at 9 a.m.
okay.
Bob can call that meeting and set a motion on it.
One other.
Purpose of the
recommendation.
meeting is to discuss purchase of a lawnmower for the road department.
And I'd like to say, if we're gonna wait till Tuesday till the other 2 are back, let's take care of the fire department lease, and let's take care of ratifying this deed
Yes,
at the same time, because the only reason we didn't take care of them today was this. So
that's fine.
let's just take care of all of it at one time, instead of carrying it forward.
Ah,
And let's get the information on the preferred mowers
You
by
can,
the
you
city.
can do that on
To
your own.
everybody, to
Everybody
Al.
can do their own. All right, I'd like to make a motion.
Let me finish
Have a-
what I said, Mr. Mayor. Let's make sure that we get the information to Al and Connie as soon as possible before that meeting, so they don't have the same complaint, or you might say.
I agree.
And multiple bids if possible, for each piece of equipment.
Is there a difference in time requirement of notification between adjourning, Mr. Attorney, versus a special meeting? As far as notice to the public of when a meeting will be held?
No, I think,
24 hours.
yeah, it's 24
That's
hours.
all, okay. Very good.
I'd like to have, making a motion for a special meeting on Tuesday, the 29th at 9 a.m. to discuss the mower, the fire department lease, and the quitclaim deed. Do I have a motion to? I don't
You
think.
don't.
You
You don't need one, you
Don't
can
we need
just,
one?
You're just
no,
calling.
you just call.
Yes, all right. I'm calling it. Bang. And anything, the public would like to say? Yes.
Are we sure I can speak now?
You can say. You can
Yes.
say. You can say.
I don't understand, Mr. Howard, why you would let other people have their comments and you wouldn't let me.
That's not what I said.
Why you
I
said
wasn't
you weren't
interrupting
through.
you.
Well, all right,
That's fine.
let's
I was
table
talking
that.
in
Let's table that.
general.
But it just, that's the way it looked to me. All I was going to say, one of the number one causes of work comp claims is injury from they don't know how to use the equipment. Now, if you're getting, your maintenance people are saying, I have used this piece of equipment 11 years, I'm familiar with it. I'm hoping you gentlemen will take that into consideration because that's one of the number one work comp claim causes. They're not familiar. Yes, you can read a book, but practical application is, that's a different thing. And I know we're looking at the dollars here, but do think about that in making your decision. The other question, I know I have 30 seconds, is, and I may have missed this, but where are we with the dollars that we were going to take away from the Reagan County Tourist Development? And they were like $7,000. And we've been out of town, and I just was curious where we are with that.
We are unable to do that without a development authority.
That's
Development
where the-
authority
Thank
also,
you.
that's another thing that
Okay. I
without
was
a
just
development
curious.
authority, we have to give away anything above 3% in our hotel motel tax.
I just didn't.
That's
that
another
makes
source
sense.
of revenue
Yeah.
for us here as far as the
It
development,
makes sense now. I just didn't know what-
investigation and so forth.
Thank you.
And I'll address your first comment on the safety. I think that's great. Do we have a training program in place for new employees where they're trained on the equipment?
Not a program,
No,
no. I mean,
no.
they're trained by their supervisor.
It probably would help to put something like that in place, I would think.
Well, I think what when we hire somebody new, the first job they get is taking the weed whacker and going out and doing that. As they advance and go to somebody else's, they're never alone, and they're always with somebody that's done the job. So,
And so to further address your concern, one of my reasons being concerned with this equipment purchase is in that line item budget, we only have 15,000 for the year. So if we're looking at 12,000 plus, but maybe if there's something at 8,000, it might not seem that big of a deal, but when our total budget is 15,000 for the equipment, it does make a big difference. Anyway, thanks for your comments, Debbie, appreciate that.
Elizabeth, you have something there?
I got an email from Will Gurley last night, I guess. I got it this morning. It says, "Hello, Linda. I would appreciate it if you would read this into the record at tomorrow's city council meeting. I am not in favor of the city spending any public funds on a new comprehensive plan. Until two things happen, it would be wasteful and a pipe dream to do so. The first is for sewer service to be in Sky Valley, not under discussion or plan, but it actually here and ready for use. The second is a motivated landowner interested in developing. In my conversations with Mr. Merrill, he has an all or nothing position with respect to selling any of this property in Sky Valley. He simply has no interest in selling it in a piecemeal fashion. If GMRC is willing to help work on potential ideas, that's okay, but they need to be aware of what we are working with. Without sewer on site, I seriously doubt any other developer would be interested in purchasing all of Mr. Merrill's property. Last and certainly not least, we do not have the demographics, population, and thus the demand to support any type of retail development within the city limits. All the planning in the world will not change that. Respectfully, Will Gurley."
Who was that?
Will Gurley.
Will Gurley. But that's.
I can respond to that letter. First of all, Mr. Gurley, wish you could have been here today. You found out some things about the land use plan. Second of all, as far as Harrison Merrill goes, he has said explicitly with the right plan and the right development, he would be willing to break off and sell his property and whatever suited that particular development. None of that can be done before we develop a land use plan, a comprehensive land use plan. So, thank you for your letter.
I'd like to comment as well on that letter, Will. You say there's no demand for what we want to do here in Sky Valley. I find that kind of ironic, being that Highlands is a highly popular town 8 miles away from here. When you walk through the downtown streets of Highlands, you have no clue you're even in the mountains. You can't see a mountain. Where in Sky Valley, you'd be walking through our little town here and you'd see a gorgeous mountain, picturesque scenery. And same thing with the hotel in Highlands. You've got a gorgeous hotel and spa up there, but have no idea you're actually in the mountains. So how can they generate such huge demand for those services and we can't, if we were to put in the same type services?
I'd like to make a comment. The idea that anyone can tell you what Harrison Merrill is going to do is supposition, repeating what he said. There's no contract, there's no legal way to hold him to anything. So the idea that Harrison Merrill said this and Harrison Merrill said that, we are all aware from past history. He owns a place, he can do with it as he wishes. And to plan anything on what he said is counterproductive. That's all I said. The whole thing of discussing him, this is a person who has his own free will.
If
Nothing.
If the city has a comprehensive plan in place, whether Mr. Merrill owns the property or the next person owns the property, what's going to happen?
Yes, you can stop him from doing, and that's good. But what I'm saying is...
But we would prefer to do that
Yes.
with him, not against him.
I wasn't into...
No, I know you weren't, but I just wanted to get that on the record,
I
that we
just
would like
want to
to
get on
work
the
with
record
him on that.
that there is a breaking
Yeah.
mechanism,
All right, so,
which is smart.
Does the city have any zoning in relation to these areas?
it's already zoned for everything that needs to be done.
Because a lot of his property, the big lots are very high. I just wondered about that.
Now you're talking about the residential
Yeah.
lots. Okay.
Well, my only comment is, I don't think there should be multiple people negotiating with Harrison Merrill. You all are the official elected body. I don't think other people should muddy that water, my personal opinion.
We
It
appreciate
gets a
that.
little, you know, with other people in the real estate business, talking to Harris and Harold, I'm a little uncomfortable about that. And I agree with Barbara. We've had a history with Mr. Harold.
I'd like to have a motion to adjourn.
I so moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor? We are adjourned.
Thank you. I would really. Here's one contribution.